And we're live. Hello and welcome, everyone. It's time for another absolutely exciting episode of IT Career in Australia channel. And today's topic is it worth becoming a web developer? Still worth, I guess. So join us for a practical discussion as our speakers explore the current landscape of web development. Is the demand for web developers still strong? How has the role evolved and what skills are essential today? Whether you're just starting your career or maybe thinking about transitioning, we'll cover the key trends, challenges, and opportunities in this field. So hopefully you can gain some valuable insights into how to stay competitive and continue to deliver value in the ever-changing tech world. Please, as usual, don't forget to say hi in the comments, introduce yourself, let us know what you do, and join our conversations with your questions and comments. Or again, just at least say hi in the comments so that we know that you're here. I'm Jana Martins, if anyone forgot. Hopefully you didn't, because I'm here every week, every Wednesday, 5:30 p.m., going live with various experts from my network. And if you're watching me on YouTube, I always recommend to connect with me on LinkedIn as well. And if you're watching me on LinkedIn, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, IT Career in Australia, and also join the meetup group, especially if you're in Melbourne, because we do have face-to-face events in Melbourne. And I always encourage you to come to face-to-face events because, look, in the age of AI, the only way to stand out is actually your network and referrals. So nothing changed. So make sure to join us for another tech walk. Anyway, that's probably enough of me. Please ask me as many questions as you want on any platform. Just stay on the topic. Use this live stream not only the opportunity to learn new information, but to network with people in the industry. We have quite a few people joining. Basarat is joining, but he's here as well. So that's good that you're commenting. The topic close to the heart. James is here saying hi. Thank you, James. Rahul is here. Thank you. Love the tech walks. James, you missed the last one. I'm watching. So, as I said, it's enough of me. I'm going to pass it on to our speakers to introduce themselves. Basarat, we'll start with you, please.
Perfect. So I started off my journey as an electrical engineer, quickly moved into software, immigrated to Australia. I was the front-end lead for a startup called Picnic Software, front-end lead for Australia Post, infrastructure engineer at Canva, principal engineer at Seek. Currently, the last role that I had at the company was engineering team lead at Pepperstone. And throughout this process, I've created lots of training content. I have a YouTube channel with 100,000 subscribers, Microsoft MVP for TypeScript, Cypress E2E framework ambassador as well, and now a full-time content creator for a course platform called Boolean Art. It provides a complete roadmap from JavaScript to TypeScript to React and even other things like Playwright and additional perks, for example, coding interview questions as well.
We can all tell that Basarat has YouTube channel. Look at his background, perfect lights,
Thank you.
Prepared microphone, on brand. And he's Jana, I do have a LED light, guys. Okay, I do. You see, it's LED light here too. So I'm trying. Anyway, Willman, over to you, please.
Yeah, my name is Will. I've been a software engineer for 15 years. I don't have such a colorful career as Basarat. I've been mostly helping countries to work in Canada, the US, and now in Australia for a wide range of companies. I've done consulting work. I work for product companies as well. So I'm specialized in the web. Started my career back in the day before Ajax was a thing, if anyone remembers that technology. And I've just been developing for the browser ever since. I'm currently working as a software engineering manager for a construction company, or for a tech company for the construction industry. And yeah, that's what I do.
Perfect. Sana saying, this topic is for me. I'm looking for a web development position. Here you go. I'm sure there's a few people there, especially, I guess, who's starting out looking for some web developer roles. So, guys, I guess maybe Before we dive into the questions, maybe a little bit again about your career, and maybe you can share with us what, I guess, inspire you to become web developer. Like, and was it sort of, did you go to web development straight away or not really? Sometimes people, maybe you're in primary school and you're like, I want to be a web developer, or maybe it wasn't as planned and you fall into it just by default. Willman, let's start with you. So what's kind of this story? Why web development?
Yeah, well, why software engineering at all is such a funny question. And I was just talking about it with somebody today that I wasn't really meant to go into software engineering. I grew up in Colombia, and over there, I guess software engineering is not quite what people understand in here. It's just a very mixed bag of computer science and software. But my first choice was actually to try to join the Navy in Colombia. My mom was against this, given that the political situation of Colombia was an inner civil war, and she signed me up for software engineering. And I think what makes the story even funnier is like 4 years later, me about to finish my degree, our computer broke at home, and she told me to fix it. I was like, Mom, no, we have to bring this to the technician. And she was like, but aren't you studying software engineering? Isn't this what they're teaching you in school? And yeah, I'm still haven't been able to tell her what I do on my day-to-day basis, what software is. But that's how I ended myself becoming software. And I mostly went into web because at the time, and if we roll back the time to 2010, you have two options. You either became an app developer and you build app for Windows, or you had this new cool thing called the internet that had just taken off. Facebook was the thing, and you could build things for many people there. You have a bigger audience. So that's what attracted me to the web, just the reach and the ability to work in new products in a new space. Yeah.
Yeah, that situation when your printer doesn't work in the office and you're a tech company and
Yes.
no one can fix a printer and everyone like, but we're a tech company.
Yeah,
Why the printer is not working?
it's a thing, yes. But Microsoft Word, to get any type of errors on your computer, people come to you in the software department and they just ask you, do you know how to fix this?
Yeah. So, Basarat, over to you. Like, how did you? I think you said you started as an electrical engineer.
Yes, so I come from a family of engineers, and the hot technology, I come from Pakistan. The hot technology at that time was telecom. That was at the start of the telecom boom. So telecom engineering / electrical is what I did my bachelor's in. Quickly moved into embedded systems, so was coding on microchips. From there, I moved into, so I electrocuted myself a few times and realized that working with hardware was not perhaps a safe profession for me. Moved into backend development, and then I found that in our companies the front end was quite often struggling. So I shifted to, basically I like to go in and help the organization wherever they're struggling, and the front end was struggling, so I moved into front end. This was at Picnic Software, and since then I've been working in front end.
Makes sense. I think last time we had a discussion about the difference between back end and front end, and our panel kind of decided that the full stack developer is a bit of a unicorn and they doesn't exist these days. So you kind of like can't be a full stack anymore. So you need to at least be more front on the back end orientated with the knowledge of the other side. But I guess let's not get into that discussion, otherwise we will open the can of worms. Let's go back to that web development.
It's already
topic.
open.
Yeah, it's already open. I mean, how would you define, like, we using interconnectively, front end software development, like the blurry lines of the actual like titles and definitions. But like, if you would define what's the role of web developer, so the particularly web developer today, and how that the definition evolve over time, what would be your response if I ask you, who is web developer? Basarat, we'll start with you this time.
It's mostly front end, so that's what separates it. Like, you're working on the browser, that's what makes web. Like, of course, internet communication, it can be called web development as well, but that's not what is perceived when someone posts a job for a web developer. If it's a job for a backend engineer, then internet is fine. But if it's a job for front end engineer, you sort of assume that you're going to be working on the browser. So I think that key browser is your target. But then that's blurry as well, because a lot of browser technologies can now be used on desktop apps as well as mobile apps as well. Um, so it's not a clear definition. I think web developer and front end engineer are sort of closely related.
Yes, it's a blurry line there. Willman, do you agree? What your kind of definition?
Yeah, I think it's similar on the lines of Basarat. It's web development, such an umbrella topic these days that you really don't know what you're signing yourself for. You have to base it on what the company is asking, right? Whenever you see like more kind of like React or CSS or accessibility knowledge, you're actually jumping into a very front end role where you're building UIs and focusing on customer experience a bit more. Once you start seeing like more, let's say, Node or more backend technologies as a web developer, you're signing off to that backend work on business logic that not necessarily falls on the backend. You think if you, I don't know, if you're trying to build a spreadsheet application, you're not working on the spreadsheet itself. You're working in the logic that's doing the math and all those things. It's very interesting, and I guess the way that this has is today is not how it used to be back in the day. You know, when I was young, web developers, you did have a full stack engineer because the concerns were just smaller. You only did HTML and CSS. You had to learn a little bit of JavaScript, and then you have a backend application. You have to learn a little bit of server management, maybe a little bit of database administration. You had those 6 things that if you were okay in all of them, you will be called a full stack engineer and you'll be happy. These days you have security, DevOps, architecture, and so many other topics that as a web developer, you cannot master them all. So yes, like when we're talking about the full stack engineer and web development in general, it's just so broad. That's really hard to pin down. You have to be very specific to the topic that you're addressing. So
makes sense. And before we open it, here's the discussion that we did before. So if you really want to think about, the definition front and back and full stack, please go back to that discussion that we did a few months ago. And we go back to web development. I guess the most common question everyone probably asking these days, with the rise of no-code, like low-code platforms, how do you see the role of web developers evolving in the next 5 to 10 years? It kind of, I'm going to make it really, basic. From the person who not from IT industry, we think about the website and we think like, oh, I'll just go to Squarespaces and I just, open like a Visual Composer or something, put few pictures together. Here's a website. Like, what do I need a web developer for? So, so how the role of the web developer is actually going to evolve? Well, what do you think? What's the future of that role in the next 5 years? Willman, let's start with you.
Yeah, it's very interesting because if you had asked me that question maybe 2 years ago, I'd be like, no, you're safe. Like low code, no code, can only do very basic things and you'll be fine. But and I guess I'll be the first one to bring the topic of AI. Now that you have these tools that can actually do slightly more complex tasks and help you navigate the things that you can do with those tools, then there's a good chunk of the easier things that you can put together, and a lot more customers will be self-serve in that they can figure out things by themselves now with these tools helping them. And I see that if you are specialized in these kind of more front or the front end tasks where you kind of like just doing HTML and styling a lot more, that's going to be taken away. Like you're going to have to start moving into more niche areas, doing more business logic, and maybe letting go of those tools and focusing on something that particular tool is not able to fix. So you'll be doing essentially troubleshooting those. Someone's going to call you to say, hey, I jump on Wix and the Wix AI did this. It's not working. Can you fix it for me? Because you have the knowledge to actually write the code, right? So I see that's how the web developer role is going to change, and specifically with low code tools.
Almost like a quality assurance.
Yeah,
Right.
you're gonna be like IT support for AI generated code.
Basarat, what do you think? Like that's kind of how you see it as well?
I completely agree. With the no code platforms, I think if you want something bespoke, that's when the developers come in. And there are lots of very successful enterprises out there who do not depend upon no code systems. For example, Seek or Canva, these are products that uh, would be like you cannot build Canva using Wix because it's a full design. And you cannot build StreamYard using Wix, as an example. So for those kind of things, definitely you need a web developer. But then prompt engineering is definitely becoming something that's a skill that you'll need to have. But it is a rapidly evolving field. I've thought a few times about building a prompt engineering course, but it's evolving so quickly that I like to build courses that last a long time, and it's not going to be something that is going to last a long time. It's good for beginners, but it's not going to be for the experts if I build it right now. And so learning prompt engineering, using that and building something bespoke is where web developers will continue to excel in this new environment.
Yeah, but I guess there is no sort of way back. Like everyone probably gonna use AI. Like if we're talking about like small businesses, they all gonna use AI-based websites in the beginning till they get to the point that they need to some customization or something more difficult. So I think that's kind of unavoidable. So what it means for, I guess, web developers, and especially for aspiring web developers who trying to get in the industries when probably a bit. Do you think it would be like a less junior roles because you need to be a bit more advanced and understanding more? Like, how do you see the junior roles in the web development evolving now?
I think in my explorations with these tools, I think they're overhyped. Like LLMs cannot code big problems, and when I say big problems, even if I've been trying to get Claude or ChatGPT to build me a very simple app that sits in the background, listens for a hotkey, and does something, it struggles. So there is a lot of context that it forgets or it misses. You have to be very specific. It's not at the level of magic where you can just tell the AI something and it will just do it perfectly to that point, right? So I think for anybody that's entering the field these days, they need to learn to work with the tool, because that it's gonna take you from being somebody that has no experience, and it's I guess if you leverage the tool correctly, it will kind of promote you a little bit further. If you know how to leverage, you'll be able to write code faster. You'll be able to do your code review faster. You can use it as a rubber duck, so you'll be able to ask questions like sort of topics a lot faster. And it's lies on you to choose how to implement in the best way to approach the work. So very specific punctual things, the AI will be able to help you. Once you're dealing with the broader, more complex areas, you have to use your brain. Like, it's not necessarily going to replace junior engineers, but the junior engineers need to come with the ability to work with the tool, because I think that every IDE soon is just going to have these code AI auto completion tools, and it's going to be giving you things that you need to be able to evaluate and decide, is this the right code that I need to write for this solution? What do you think, Basarat?
Yeah.
I completely agree with that. AI works on top of the existing body of knowledge out there. And in a modern enterprise, you are always going to be on a green field for something. And for those kind of problems, AI cannot solve it because it's not really seen those challenges before. Of course, over time it improves. But like when it began, it wouldn't really understand Tailwind as an example. But now the kind of code it generates for Tailwind is actually quite efficient. But then some of the legacy stuff as well is so obscure that you sort of need a human intervention at that point. Then AI also doesn't have a complete understanding of the different pieces that are not joined properly. So they sort of exist in the minds of humans only. They're not written in any infrastructure as code or something like that. For those kind of things, you still need human intervention. And then there is quite a bit of churn in this industry as well. So we have developers falling off after like 20 years. And you'll always need those seats filled, and we need junior developers for that.
Would you say, can you like pinpoint a specific technology that you think, particular skills that will be really relevant? Like, should the web developers learn particular language, for example, or like particular platforms? Basarat, we'll start with you. Like, if you pick your top three, what do you think there would be the most important to focus on?
As the creator of JavaScript said, that always bet on JavaScript. So that is going to continue to be the language of the web. Even if you work in something else, you still sort of will need to look at JavaScript stack traces at some point. So that is something that you will have to learn. And then if with that, a lot of developers like to work as close to the metal as possible, and the technology that gives maintainability for modern web development and is still quite close to JavaScript is TypeScript, and that's really rocketed in the past 2 years. So that's another thing that you should learn. Then after that, you can pick a framework. You can pick React, Angular, or Vue. Those are the top three frameworks. I personally would pick React because it seems like the web development ecosystem sort of revolves around the React universe. And then if you want to go even deeper in that, then you can learn something like Next.js.
Mhm.
Willman,
Yeah.
that's your list as well, or your list would be different?
No, so I think Basarat is a true technologist. It has his opinions. I'm an engineering manager. I work with higher level abstractions. Essentially, I just ramble and try to make sense out of things. But I will kind of like bring the conversation up a little bit for something that I've heard a few in my groups, which is about career security. Normally you think about job security, but you're thinking about career security. And again, all the things that Basarat mentioned there will give you that. But I will abstract it to learn something boring. You know, there are technologies being around for a very long time now: JavaScript, C Sharp, Java. Boring technologies take around. We're paying a lot of money to people that do COBOL. If you don't know what COBOL is, it's a very old technology, and they're all engineers that are 60 years old. They used to write COBOL code and making tons of money because it used to be bank systems and bank and slowly modernizing. Learn something boring and learn something edgy, right? Because you need to be learning how to keep up with the technology. So we have upcoming languages, Go, Rust, that it's really weird to call it upcoming because now they've been around for, I think, for a year or two. So there will be something out there that it just came out. So just learn to keep up with the technology and see what gets adopted where. Once you have mass adoption, then that is where your career security is going to be when your people start rolling out. And that's normally how I pick the things that I learn. That's why I'm so kind of like still looking into AI, LLM, where this field goes, because that's my edgy topic at the moment. And my boring topic is just domain-driven design. It's been around for ages. I think everybody already heard about it. So that's how I tend to balance out the two things. Rough.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and I guess what other things web developers can do these days to differentiate themselves? So obviously we can learn technology, but if you would give like advice to, especially maybe not someone who's starting out, maybe someone who's been in the career for a while and just feeling a bit stuck, or like maybe feeling a bit worried that they're getting outdated. So what do you think they should focus on to stay competitive in the market?
Maybe I'll go first. It's hard, like we're in a field that changes often. Technologies come all the time. And I think if you remember probably why you went to engineering or why you're good at engineering is because you love solving problems. And there's a level of abstraction that you get or you already have if you're being in the field where you're not necessarily relying on the tech, right? Like you could solve the same problem in three different languages, but what differentiates you is knowing which of the three is the best one for the problem, right? Again, we're talking about Go, Rust, or Node. You're trying to pick them out for solving a problem. If you can articulate the differences and the strengths of each language, and you can abstract that away and make a decision, that makes you a great engineer. That I think that's when I'm interviewing for a role. I'm not necessarily looking for the mastery of the underlying technology. I'm looking at that level of abstraction where you can clearly articulate your judgment and why you're making those decisions. To me, it's just the hallmark of a great engineer is just that level of communication.
Basarat, you agree?
I completely agree. Build a great GitHub profile, build a great Stack Overflow profile. There are lots of projects on GitHub that need help, popular projects that need help. You could help with those. You can and use the Feynman method. So learn something, teach something. So if you don't really learn till you try to teach it, kind of thing. Becoming a content creator is sort of a required skill at this point. So pick a platform, LinkedIn even, and start sharing your knowledge. Especially for the job market, I think LinkedIn is an excellent platform. It's a platform where people are more focused on job instead of memes. So being Twitter famous as a developer is definitely something that gets you noticed, but it doesn't necessarily get you noticed in a positive way. And still, like when people see your resume, the first thing that they do is probably Google you, and if you have a LinkedIn profile, they probably look at that. Link your GitHub from your LinkedIn profile. GitHub will probably show up as a search result as well. You should probably link it from your resume as well. If you have a healthy GitHub profile that shows commits, it sort of shows that you can work on stuff. And I guarantee you, if you contribute to open source projects, you will get noticed.
Yeah, I do want to highlight something that you said, Basarat, that learn to teach. That's such an important skill. And I guess it's another topic that goes around a lot, which is like that 10x engineer, that engineer that has this multiplier effect on a team. And I think the times I see it work is that engineer that can come into a team and teach and really upskill the people around them and get them to that next level. And it's just that ability to transfer knowledge that really works really well with the team. And if you become that person, I don't think you ever suffer for like at your work or trying to find a job, because you develop so many skills upskilling other people.
I think also what sort of Basarat mentioned in terms of having GitLab and having some sort of portfolio and things. I think a lot of recruitment predictions at the moment, because obviously there is a flood of AI-generated resumes and applications. So some companies actually opting out from advertising jobs or start using AI tools to screen resumes, because like as more AI applications you get, as more AI tools you need to screen them, just the kind of the proportion. So now, like literally, you advertise a job and you get like 100 applicants in 2 days because everyone just customizing their applications so quickly, and that's going to continue. So basically, it will be harder and harder to stand out just by sending resume. So, and we're coming back to that, having your network, having referrals. And I feel like if you're a web developer, you can actually do like a really good personal website. So I think that won't hurt. Like if you actually can build a really nice, like, I mean, like if I'm from recruitment perspective, hiring a web developer and they have a really nice personal like kind of website with their resume or like their skills, or just like digital resume, that probably will catch my attention. Because I'm like, they actually applying their skills, especially if it's a more like a junior role.
Will you judge them if it have an AI generated website?
I wouldn't know as a recruiter. That's the thing,
Yeah. Yeah, I think those are great ways to showcase your skills. And I wasn't aware really that was the source of so many applicants when they were looking for hiring. Yeah, that's interesting insight right there.
Yeah, so I think, so I feel like some smaller companies will be advertising less purely because the keeping up with you need to reply to everyone, you need to try to provide the feedback, and if you keep advertising, you keep getting flooded with those applications.
Has this increased the need for recruiters because companies can't possibly filter out all of these themselves?
I think that just the role of recruitment changing, yes. So you sort of became that QA as well. So same as you're saying for web development, you need to just go and check it. Same happening with recruitment. You just need to make sure it's a real person. That's They real. They have like like real employment history. They not only just what they send in their AI generated application. So I think that's basically the same with any roles right now. So that human QA factor.
Yeah, I really don't know what's the impression here in Australia because again I work internationally quite a bit and I always enjoy working with recruiters because I think they're the matchmaker of the job industry, right? Like they know their company know very well and they always make sure that you go to a company where you're gonna stay. So yeah, it's this is just like I don't know, mind blowing to me that all the AI generated things that are happening right now. It's recruiters that are copying a bit of the heat with the ChatGPT. Here's 5 bullet points. Can you write me a paragraph for my cover letter? And even LinkedIn
Yep.
has adopted these features already. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's kind of exactly what's happening. And guys, whoever's on the line, so feel free to ask some questions in the comments. I have a few more questions. Like talking about that, differentiating yourself. Do you think that it's important and for web developer to be some industry specific? Yeah, so like maybe you like, I don't know fintech really well and understand the pain points and things, or maybe you can, I don't know, like be good at marketing, because for me, like when I think about web development, it's all like, for me it's always linked to a lot to marketing and understanding that, like, customer flow and building that funnel, like where the leads come from, where the people go on the website. So do you think, like, is there some sort of other things web developers can do to stand out, more related to the business side rather than like technology?
I think it's quite commonly not required. And engineering as well. You can come in as a React expert, you can come in as a Next.js expert, but there is no guarantee that that's what you're going to be working on. You might be working on a mobile app the next day, and the business might be working on something completely different from what it's known for. Developers are sort of hired to develop, to build working software, and it's sort of expected for them to learn it on the job. And I think that's a positive thing, honestly, because what that means is you have job security, you sort of learn on the job. It's one of the great benefits of being a software engineer, that you're always learning new things on the job. There's no way that you can understand everything about every organization. Organizations deploy things differently, use different technologies. You might be a TypeScript expert, but you might be required to work in C# because the C# engineer is no longer employed over there, has moved on. Yeah, so not
yeah.
industry specific.
I'm not too sure where I stand on this topic, to be honest. I've gone really far by being a generalist. Um, every single job that I had is in different industry using partially different tech. And today, when I think about my career, I wonder where I would have gotten if I had just decided to specialize in payments and just work in payments environments my entire career. Would I be making more money? Would I have, less worries about what my next job could be or what I want to do? I think it comes back to your main motivators. I love playing with technology. I'm not necessarily, I don't like marrying myself to a framework, even though I've been working with PHP and JavaScript for a very long time. I still delve into ActionScript when that was the thing. I've delved into Visual Studio.net, I think it was called at the time when that was the thing. I've done a little bit of C Sharp, a little bit of whatever is necessary to get the job done, similar to what Basarat was saying. Um, but yeah, it's I don't think I can give a direct answer. Just do what you love. If you love delving deeper into a topic and just become the expert, be that for yourself, and have fulfillment. Or if you love playing with technology, it's just as important for companies to have that person that can do a little bit of everything and just cover for other people when people are on leave or people are absent. It's yeah.
One thing that I would like to talk about in terms of job security is putting one of the biggest tech companies in Australia on your resume, because even if you hired as a junior developer at Seek, it's very easy to get hired at Canva next. And even if you don't go to Canva, some other IT company within Australia, it's be like, okay, we have an ex seek engineer for you. And if you look at those companies, like Canva is a design company, Atlassian is a software lifecycle management company, Zero is a finance company, Myob is similar to Zero, like finance tracking. But there's a diverse mix here. There's not one particular industry. So understand that you're going to be moving towards these big organizations. You are going to be doing different industrial things, and they sort of open doors in other organizations for you as well, which are going to be completely different industries.
Maybe
That's really interesting, because it's almost like the biggest bias in the recruitment industry, where, like, and the thing with some example, then someone just literally did like kind of like a fake resume, put like a Google, Instagram, TikTok on it, and just completely like random description of what they did, and they secure like 10 interviews because no one even read what's the what they actually did in those companies. So it is interesting, because we tend to hire people who've been working in big companies, but it's interesting that it's not always the best choice. But it is a safe, I guess that's a safe way to kind of like build a career. Go and work for a reputable company, and then there's most likely someone from another big company will hire you. It's yeah, but is it the right way? Like, I don't know. It's a hard one. Willman, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't absolutely disagree. I don't know. I'm a big contrarian. If you apply to me and you say you're ex-Atlassian, I'm not impressed. I just think you're trying to leverage your experience. So I'm a bit put off by it. But it's a valid thing to do, right? I kind of like wanted to pick your brain a little bit, Basarat, about you've
Mhm.
worked in quite a big companies here in Australia, and what do you think the skill set, if we're talking about these are web companies, right? What's the skill set that
Mhm.
you think those three companies value the most? Because you probably sat down in interviewing rooms and you've seen the technical test, and whether it's data structure, system design, the product done it all. But do you feel like those companies are all testing for the same thing, or does it changes company to company?
Testing for the same thing. And you, throughout this conversation, Wilman, you've sounded like an excellent engineering manager, because one great tip that you gave was learn something boring and learn something upcoming. That's I completely agree with that. And another thing that you talked about was ability to explain yourself is something that you value a lot. And I think that is what the organizations value a lot as well. A common question is that, where did you work? Not necessarily like how big the organization, and what did you do there? So you worked at some place that was doing something interesting, and can you explain what they were working on? Because our infrastructure is going to be completely different from theirs. But did you understand what you were working on over there? Because quite commonly people will understand, okay, I was working on one page, but they will not understand how the organization functions, how the system interacts with other systems. And the more deep you can explain those kind of things, the more likely it is that that company will hire you.
Hmm.
Yeah, we have interesting comments here from Skiwi. Skiwi saying there is no such a thing as a web developer these days. It's like it's like saying IT. I was one of the first web developers in Australia back when you could actually be one. I was doing WAIS and Gopher sites before my friend invented.
Tim Berners-Lee.
Yeah. And then I was pure HTML, with Blink being the best thing you could do. I remember being excited when the page background come in. Yeah, and the moving, then you can do the ticker, whatever moving ticker. That was the best. I was in the high school when it come out, so that was great.
I think it was called the marquee tag. Yes, it's called
Yeah.
marquee.
Oh
So
yeah. Oh my God.
GeoCities.
Yes, that's where my flashing things and changing, adding icons to the cursor. I think that was a thing too that a lot of websites used to do. Got like something that would chase the cursor around. Wow. Thanks for the memory.
Here you go. So I guess we already mentioned, like, talk about it, is like the actually, guys, have you seen much advertising for web developer? Is it the thing? I actually didn't. Like, I've done hire, software engineers. I don't know, but do the companies advertise for web developers these days?
I've seen it
Or
very
they put
little.
front end engineer instead?
Front-end engineer.
Yeah, I think the developer term has fallen out of grace, and everybody now calls themselves an engineer. I used to apply for web developer roles, and then Google claimed we only have engineers, and then they were looking for web engineers, and the web part dropped, and now it's just software engineers. Very blanket topic of, are you doing mobile? Are you doing apps? Are you doing web? Yeah, it just disappeared almost completely.
Yeah. Here's another tip, I guess, guys who are looking for web developer role. Probably don't put web developer in your title in this case, because you probably will have the less matches than for the jobs, compared to if you put like front end engineer or software engineer in general. You would need to know way too many skills to be a web developer. There you go. I remember GeoCities. Hey guys, so people start bringing memories.
Here's another one for you, MySpace.
Yes, that was the thing too. So you could change the background there too. So there you go. Guys, so I'm just also cautious about the time. So I think if anyone has any questions, please put in the comments. But I guess my last question is to a bit summarize, I guess, our today's discussion. The question, that the topic today was, is it still worth becoming a web developer? And we don't even know if the web developer is a thing now. But if you summarize, here we go. If you summarize the answer, and what would be your sort of the top tip for anyone who thinking about, starting as a web developer or, staying relevant as a web developer. So if you give your top tip, what would be? Basarat, maybe we'll go with you first.
Master something and start teaching and make a name for yourself in that one thing. And it's absolutely worth it to become it. Seeing it's a very rewarding job, seeing your code being used visually by people, like front end, is something that I enjoy a lot. Highly recommend.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. Again, I'm a generalist. I will just look at things in the way, like, find a problem that you want to solve and have fun solving it. Again, I will double down on what Basarat said. Learn to teach. It's like a great skill to have, and it's absolutely like getting into engineering, software engineering, whatever you want to call it. Jobs are just going to continue to grow, so it doesn't really matter whether you're doing web, app, or mobile. Like Basarat said, JavaScript is present in all those environments, so you'll be absolutely fine. And most skills that you learn are transferable between languages. So yeah.
We have one more question from Rahul. He's saying, how do you see the balance between freelance opportunities and full-time employment changing for web developers?
So I'm definitely seeing more freelancing and a lot of offshoring and contracting, is because that's the easier way for startups to get started, to get on the runway. You get a proof of concept, like you get the funding for that, and then you build the first without hiring permanent employees. And there are lots of excellent offshore organizations that provide talent for that, and that's sort of being leveraged more, which means that you'll need to be more freelance in the beginning to sort of clean up some of the mess that comes with outsourcing your code. But one positive aspect of that also is that if you are based in Australia, you sort of get more senior roles because you sort of hired for that managing of technical debt, I would call it. It's a mixed bag.
Yeah, I haven't done freelancing in a very long time. Trying to think about what drives people to freelancing that Basarat hasn't said. But yeah, I'm not really know if I have to guess. Again, like economic situation is a little bit tough. Company are a little bit more strapped for money. So I do agree that they might be looking to just hire someone that comes into the job for a little bit, get something off the ground going, and then just continue with the people they have in house, if they have any, or just moving more cautiously on the spending. So is that gonna result in more work for people that are contractors that just come in and out? Not sure. Or does that mean that they're gonna be spending less on that and just try to deal with things in house? It's really hard to me to give you a direct answer. But I will think about it in those terms, right? Like is there money to go by? Right.
Yeah, I think it's also the similar question would be, is it better to go to the agency or work for the product company? Because, it's kind of like going to agency. It's similar to freelancing because you work in the different clients all the time. And maybe you can actually pick up more like skills because you work in a different project before going to the product company. Yeah, I don't know, like what would you recommend, that kind of like career path or?
I've thought at length with this with a bunch of friends because we'll have different paths. And I both done both gigs. I think if you are very strongly opinionated towards code quality and craftsmanship, probably go to a product company because they're going there for the long term and longevity of the product. As and if you're that person and you work for an agency, your influence towards the company that has hired you to change the way that they do code, to adopt better practices, is just non-existent. They most likely just want you to do what they're asking you to do for the most part, and do it to a good degree of quality and come out. Like it's just that the sense whenever I've been, working with an agency, that's the feeling I get from the company. It doesn't matter how much I talk about, hey, after this project ends, you still have like a runaway of another year. You should probably aim to invest a little bit more time on this and do it right way. Like that's not, no, we need it on this day. So just not much power that you have. So if you're working in an agency and you're happy to kind of like let the client decide and just build to their standard of quality, you have an easier time. I think that's where I've landed.
Basarat, what do you think?
I completely agree. Like quality, if you care about code quality and like maintaining the stuff that you write, work for a company with an agency, you get whatever you get, and then you deliver it as quickly as possible, and then you leave. But on the flip side, the positive aspect of working with an agency is that you learn a lot of things. Uh, it would take you 2 years in multiple organizations, so like 6-7 years to learn the same thing that you can learn in an agency in 1 year, because you'll be working those 6 jobs in the span of 1 year. That's the tip. I also like what James mentioned, that get your own ABN. So if you, even if you are working as a full-time employee for not an agency, get your own ABN and then work as a contractor with an agency, with a company. But that sort of takes a while because you sort of have to have built a name for yourself before organizations will hire you directly as a contractor.
Yeah, makes sense. I want to run this topic about contracting versus full-time employment, because I think a lot of people have sort of that questions. Just a quick last question from Ishi. I missed Tech Walk last Sunday. Ishi is now on in November. I recently graduated and I'm aiming to become a full stack engineer. I'm currently looking for job opportunities in Australia. Any advice on graduates? I know we covered a lot of things, but like, guys, if you wanna, I guess, give like just a short, like a 1 minute, your top advice for graduates in this market, what would it be? Basarat? What?
Learn the key technologies that I mentioned. So JavaScript, TypeScript, React. Get certificates from them. So even Udemy has certificates and lots of courses on them. Boolean Art, I'll mention it. That's my course platform that has courses for this, and that gives certificates as well. Post them on your LinkedIn, and then be ready for an interview. Just keep on going to interviews. There's no shortcut to that. And yeah, coming to a tech walk is definitely a good opportunity as well. You never know who's hiring.
Next one, 17th of November. So it's still a few weeks away. Willman, any advice for graduates from your side?
Yeah, I think again, I'm a manager, so I look at things from a manager point of view. I think when I'm hiring a new graduate or looking for somebody junior, and I don't know if junior is a dirty word these days, but early in your career, what I'm looking for, and I think what most people are looking for, is for what's called a growth mindset. You know, in the interview, if you make mistakes, own them. Don't be shy to make them. Again, everybody's conscious that you just graduated, just have a year of experience. It's okay to make mistakes, but it's what you do with them what's going to set you apart in that interview. Don't be afraid to say you don't know. Ask more questions about it. Ask for feedback during the interview. Once you demonstrate that you can grow and you care about your growth and development, like, I'll hire that person anyway, because they're a sponge. Everything, every knowledge that I give them, they're gonna absorb and take, and that is the most valuable skill I can think of for someone that just started learning, right? Like, you don't want to hire the person that it's just going to be obstinate, it's not going to learn, it's not going to be performing. You want that person that you can just feed knowledge and just take it in and roll with it.
Yeah, definitely. And talk to people. Exactly. Talk to people. That's my top advice every time. Talk to people. If you think you can just hide at home and on the computer and and never go and get a remote job, maybe reconsider this. It's a good habit to actually go there and talk to people. Just cautious about the time. We at the exciting part of our stream. I'm going to do an announcement for next week, and if you guys look through the comments and pick someone from the comments that you can have a virtual coffee chat with. Yes, so the opportunity for people to network with our speakers, and the opportunity for people maybe pick your brain a bit further. So yeah, guys, whoever's Nicole, Tech Walking will be 17th of November. So please join us. We often have a lot of people, and it's obviously a fun event. So it's still over a month away. We just have one last week. So, but yeah, put it in your calendar, 17th of November. And next week, Wednesday as usual, we're gonna talk about hallucinations in AI. Can we really trust it? Obviously, the hot topic. Everyone talks about AI at the moment, and I'm talking about AI. Yes. So Bahrain and Sarah will dive into this topic with me next Wednesday, and we're going to talk about, where we can actually use it, and what sort of use cases and what we can do to make sure that we get more reliable responses as well. So next Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. as usual. Guys, did you choose the people for the coffee chat? Basarat, who are you going to have a coffee chat with?
Actually, if they're available.
Ishi? Sorry?
Yes. That's what I offer.
Ishi, make sure you connect with me on LinkedIn, and obviously follow Basarat. And Basarat has an amazing YouTube channel with 150,000 subscribers. Yes. You need to make sure you find him and check it out. A lot of JavaScript wisdom there. So make sure you find his channel. And Willman, who are you gonna have a chat with?
Yeah, I think I saw at the beginning that Hisano is looking for a job. Happy to provide any input and whatever help she needs.
I'm just Hisana. Yes, Hisana. I'll make sure I'll connect you with Willman as well for the chat. Thank you so much, guys. And I lost my comment. And just to finish today's live stream, guys, just to put you quickly on the spot, can you share with us your favorite inspirational quote, if you have one, or you can just make one on the spot?
I do have one actually that I'm an avid comic reader and read a lot of manga, and there's a manga that's called Hajime no Ippo. It's about a boxing champion from Japan, and in there's a scene where essentially the coach is telling him, like, not everyone that puts in the effort makes it, but everyone that makes it puts in the effort. And that's always stuck with me ever since I read that panel. So yeah, that's my favorite motivational quote.
Sarah, are you still thinking?
So I couldn't figure out whose it was from. It's apparently by G. Michael Hopf. I've never heard that name before, but hard times create strong men. Yeah, I would say hard times help you, build you up, is the general gist of it. That's what I was focusing on.
Yeah. So if you think you're having hard time looking for a job at the moment, maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's a good thing, and you learn new skills, and then from there it will be just easier. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me this time. Skippy saying, of course you can't trust AI. We don't even understand it, so we're gonna discuss it next Wednesday. Make sure you're here for this discussion. Isha saying, thank you. I'll connect. Yes, make sure to connect. Isha and Hassana, make sure to connect with the guys and with me. And again, thank you so much for joining me this evening. And I'll see everyone next Wednesday. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.